everyone, and welcome to another episode of the We Know Nothing podcast. This week we're going to be talking about Season 7, Episode 6 of Game of Thrones. I'm your host, Nate Talan, and with me today are...
Nicholas Talan.
Michael Lehman.
And let's just jump right into it. We start off north of the wall, and we just get a bunch of one-on-one conversations, pretty much of them just stopping.
Walking and talking.
How do we feel about... What were some of your favorite ones that went down?
Probably the Jon Snow and Jorah one. That one was really cool with the long claw exchange. Jorah was like, I really don't want this. And Jon's like, no, take it. And Jorah's like, no.
No, I think Jorah wanted it, but he grew and he became more honorable, so he's like, I don't deserve this.
He's being over-honorable to compensate for his past.
Yeah.
So he said, I don't want it.
And then he also said something like, may this pass down to your children after you, and there's a lot of talk of succession in this episode, like after Jon or Dany dies, because they always are determined to put themselves in dangerous situations where if they die, then basically their whole nation that they protect is screwed. So everyone's worried about the succession when it comes to them. So what are your thoughts on Jon having a little baby by the end of the show?
Don't like it. No, I'm kidding. I think it's bound to happen at this point.
Right.
I'd prefer that it doesn't, just because I feel like there's so much more going on that should be, for a storyteller, that should be in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is part of the story, if that's the way George R.R. Martin intended the story to go, then obviously we got to get some incest action going, or not. But
Is George R.R. Martin even writing the show anymore?
he's not, but he told the writers, what is it,
Weiss.
Dan Weiss and David Benioff, he gave them like an outline of major plot points that would happen. That's why people think that it's
connect
like
the dots.
the connections between these main events that are happening in this season so far are very loose. So that's what they think, is they're just trying to get to the major plot points and nail them out.
That makes sense.
Because it's like, we need to get a dragon to die. How can we do that? Oh, let's just have Jon go north of the wall on a suicide mission, and then Dany has to come save him.
That's about right.
And let's have the White Walkers have chains.
But
Chains?
Out of everything
Shit,
in
they
this
pull the
episode, I
dragon
feel
out.
like that's
Yeah,
the least, that's the lesser of all the evils in this episode, is that they have chains.
It's weird that they're doing iron work.
See, what I thought is that it would be just pure ice, but then if you look at it, it's clearly like,
Steel.
yeah. So that's the one thing that I'm just like, okay. If it was pure ice, sure. They can make ice out of nothing, so.
As far as chain goes, though, that's some of the coolest chain I ever saw.
You think so?
Yeah.
Top 10?
Yeah, like top 10 chain, top 5 chain.
Top 1 chain, all time.
I've
Well.
seen Jorge Soler caught on his ex-Cub. His chain was pretty cool.
Yeah, he had a good chain.
So I'd say this is 2 for me.
Plus that one
Anyway.
was gold.
Yeah. We only got to see it a couple times because he was.
Sucks.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Welcome
to the Cubs podcast.
A lot of people seem to like the Tormund and Hound interplay between them.
Sure.
Hound was a dumbass this episode, straight up.
This episode only?
Dumbass how?
He's stubborn, but this episode he was a dumbass.
Mm-hmm. He caused Thoros to die.
He's just throwing rocks.
More dominoes should have fallen this episode.
And by dominoes, you mean characters.
People.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. We'll get to that when we talk about the giant battle.
Okay, I was about to drop some bombs there, but go ahead.
But a lot of people are really hyped up about this whole Tormund Brienne situation.
I don't think anything.
I don't think it's super important.
Comedic
it has
relief,
it has
clearly.
nothing to do. But one interesting thing that I do like about it is how, I think it was back in season 4 or something. Brienne's talking about she gives her backstory monologue. She talks about how all the kids would mock her by saying she's a beauty and all this stuff. And then this episode, Tormund said it and he meant it. He's like, I got a beauty waiting for me back at home. And it's just endearing, but I think Tormund should have died this episode, or he should die early season 8, because he's not that important. Once the war actually starts with the army, you don't really need the wildlings anymore. The only reason Tormund's still alive is because he's the only wildling character in the entire show.
He's a fan favorite, too.
Mm-hmm. But they never had a problem killing off fan favorites before.
Before George R.R. Martin was running the show.
Yeah, we haven't got a good
That's
death
true.
this season. Sure, Olenna No,
even.
not even a major player.
I liked her, but
nothing.
no emotion at all when she died.
Like Bronn should have died, Tormund should have died.
Bronn should be
Beric
dead,
should have
I
Tormund should
really
be
think
dead.
it is just HBO got a hold of this and just was kind of like, okay, just listen. We need to stop killing off all.
Which doesn't take away from the show too much from me, but you could just tell.
It just
in
fall
the
back
earlier
to more fantasy stuff like
and-
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and early in the seasons, it's you like this season. Just looking back, like I say to myself, if this was early in the show, Bronn's dead right there. Tormund's dead right there.
But it wasn't automatic always. The thing I liked about Game of Thrones was that it wasn't Lord of the Rings because there weren't sacred characters.
No,
Like,
exactly.
Literally
Exactly.
anybody
Yeah.
was on
And
the table.
now it's becoming kind of like a Lord of the Rings
right,
story.
where people are becoming untouchable.
Like I'm fine with because people
Sean
were talking
Bean's
about the
never
pace. People were talking about the pace and how like it's just people are getting so mad that it's just become like a spectacle show. But like I'm fine with that as long as it still holds true to like what Game of Thrones was by like killing off the characters, like stuff of consequence happens.
Right.
Because at this point, like this is all those details throughout the whole show. I think we said on the last episode, like all these details lead up to these moments. Like this is the end of the show. You don't need any more of those details because all the pieces are in play, and now pieces are going to start to fall till we get to like the last piece on the board, which is whoever wins or whoever is still alive at the end. But
Yeah, like you can tell it's ending, but there's just so much craziness that like I literally have no idea where the show is gonna end.
I think I have an idea. Bran
Is not the Night King. Don't you?
is the Night King.
Anyways.
Okay.
You know what to do. Just like to do.
Anyways, so then we go to Winterfell, and Arya's giving like this speech about the bow thing, and something about this, like usually I like Maisie Williams, but like something about like the way she delivered this thing didn't sit well with me, and I was like, I just can't take it.
It's because like Arya isn't really an overdramatic person.
Yeah.
But this whole Winterfell run has been just like being a drama queen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Everyone
I don't like
is.
that. Yeah, the whole Winterfell shit, get that away from me. It's completely unnecessary. Because I mean, if it comes down to the point where Arya ends up killing Sansa or Arya, any of those two, if Sansa or Arya dies from this,
That's not gonna happen.
I know. I'm just saying, if it does, cancel the show. Season 8 doesn't need to happen.
But okay, the thing that like
Don't do that though.
Arya,
cancel the show.
Arya like basically blamed Sansa for Ned's death and all this stuff, and then she was like,
Open your mind a little bit.
and then like this whole situation is just stupid. Like Arya is actually being dumb. Usually it's Sansa being stupid,
disagree.
but now it's Arya.
I
And
disagree.
Sansa's been smart.
Yeah.
As of late.
Arya is not blaming Sansa for her father's death. She is merely saying that Sansa turned her back on the family and she didn't care about his death as much as Arya did.
What the hell you wanted her to do?
And then it cuts to episode 9 of season 1 with Sansa passing out and like screaming when he's about to get his head chopped off, and then she passes out. Arya didn't see that, did she? No, because the Night's Watch guy was like blocking her away and like, but I don't know. Everyone was kind of screaming in that moment. Even Cersei and Varys, and Littlefinger was the only one that was just standing there.
Cersei screaming?
Well, she was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop, stop!" Like if you go back and watch it, it's crazy.
I have not seen that episode since the first time.
Like
I watched
Varys is over Joffrey's shoulder, like talking to him, like trying to make him back down, and Littlefinger's the only one just standing there doing nothing,
Joffrey's
because it's what he wanted. That's what Littlefinger wanted. And
I
I
tried to
feel
warn him.
I feel like that's what it's building to. Is Littlefinger's going to die next
I
episode
think
or
he's
an
gonna
episode
die
after?
next episode.
You think he's dying next episode?
Um,
I think he's in the next season.
Next season.
No, I think
Yeah, he's dying though, and
I think he
it's
dies
sad.
next episode, and I think Bran plays the role in killing.
Well,
him.
yeah, because Bran better do something this
Yeah,
season.
what's up? What's up with that? I saw a meme on Twitter, and it was like the SpongeBob list where it says things to do, and it says nothing, and someone was like, "This is Bran's list right now."
I don't know why you guys hate on Bran. He's my favorite character.
I'm just saying, my boy Bran needs to get back
Bran
in
is
the
a
game.
fantastic character, and I hate you.
But it's sad that like Littlefinger's plotline has been boiled down to this because he was such an intriguing character
That
throughout the
really
whole
is
show.
sad.
You never knew.
Where he
with
was a
him.
giant chess player, and
you
now
know.
Yeah.
and now you know that nothing amounted from it, and he's just gonna die.
Varys is down too, though.
But the funny thing is, we said that before he played this trick on him, even though it's a dumb trick with the scroll. We were like, yeah, Peter's done. When Bran talked to him, we were like, yeah, Peter's gonna die in like the next episode.
I'm gonna when we get to a later scene that happens, I'm gonna tell you why Peter's done, and then it's going to make a lot more sense. But Peter is 100% done. His character is going nowhere after this point. But anyways, so then we cut to Tyrion and Dany. They have a conversation about heroes and the heroes in the show, and how all of them fell in love with Daenerys because she herself is a hero, even though she's like, why do they always got to do stupid things? And then she flies all of her dragons north of the wall.
Why? Like, why all of them?
But in the reaction, you were shaking your head to this whole conversation. What's your problem with everyone falling in love with Dany?
I don't know. I feel like, I don't remember shaking my head that much. Like, it didn't bother me too much.
We'll be able to see the video.
Yeah, go back and look at it. But I think it was just the fact that I feel like they're over prepping for Jon and Dany.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
I know, but like, why do you think they're over prepping? People think that
the whole everything.
The whole reason why people are against the whole Jon Dany thing is because they said that that it's not getting the build-up that it needs. When I think it's getting a lot. It's super incest.
I feel like the same way. I feel like this should have been a long time coming.
It has been though.
No, we haven't got any like feel for it until I don't know.
My whole thing is
they're making me look uneducated.
My whole thing is I expect Jon and Dany to get together. Jon will probably have second thoughts once he figures out his heritage.
Yeah,
but
I think it's gonna be a Luke Skywalker, Leia type thing, except there may be some.
What if he gets
here? Like
what if Dany gets pregnant from Jon?
I don't want that to happen.
I feel like it's gonna happen.
I don't want it to
There's
happen.
been too much talk of kids.
It's gonna be a little
too much. Yeah, I know.
Child.
That's what I meant by the prepping. Like, come on.
Have you been watching the same show? This is how, like, every single thing, we've just been accustomed to it now, where once we hear little things like that, we're like, oh. Like the whole thing with Missandei talking to Jon about, where I'm come from, we don't have a concept of bastards, and they have to re-explain the whole concept of bastards just so you understand that Jon isn't one, and that he's the legitimate heir.
Yeah, that was a little overkill.
See, but they did that throughout the entire show, they keep saying these things.
Guess what? We know it now, so they need to know.
Yeah, that's why the show's wrapping up next season. That's why the show's done.
That's why the show's a 2 out of 5 star.
Here is how the end of this next episode coming up is going to end. All right, Dany is going to go into the dragon lair. All right.
Dragon pit.
Yeah, the dragon pit. And the door to the stone, whatever, is going to close. And she's going to come back out the next morning, and she's going to be holding her stomach, and we're going to look down and see like a dragon wing like press up against like her belly flesh. And then she's going to be
pregnant with a dragon.
Like
like how they describe Tyrion.
You know what this show like.
we haven't had a weird birth in a while, so we need one.
That's what it made me think of, like the Stannis shadow. Where did that come from? If you think about it, that's the only thing in the show besides the little teleporting guy in frickin' Karth or whatever.
Well,
but like the
once
shadow
the dragons were born, magic re-entered.
Is that the thing?
Yeah.
So
That's
the dragons
Then
bring
we need
magic.
more magic. We need more magic.
Is there 1/3 less magic now?
So do you think Dany's the Night King?
No, but I think that because this whole thing of the prophecy with Dany is that she can't have kids till whatever. But I think
that's not true. There's a loop. There's a hole in that.
Yeah.
Because the wizard wouldn't have been able to get into his house before the dragons were born, but that was built before they were born. Because there's no doors. You have to get in there with magic.
Wait, for what?
So magic had to exist before the dragons.
Oh yeah.
The dragons were born.
But that building was there before.
The House of the Undying?
Yeah, the House
The whole
of the
reason
Undying.
why the building's so trippy is because the warlocks started using magic.
So they.
People think that whole thing didn't happen. Like, it's all just a vision from Dany.
Yeah.
And like, he died at the end because she found the dragons, but.
I didn't really like that whole part.
Yeah,
guy.
season 2 for Dany is trash. Like, it's not a good season for Dany because she has like
Where
that.
are my dragons?
Yeah, that whole thing. But I forgot what I was gonna say.
Who was the lady with all the weird beard face that was talking?
Yeah,
to her?
like what was her name? Oh man, I don't know. She's gone.
Who?
The one that wears like the mask.
Yeah.
Like, with all the gold plates. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even remember that.
She's just gone. She was in one episode. She said Jorah like this super weird prophecy, and then she just bounces.
Yeah.
Is that for real?
Yeah, people thought he was gonna go back to her to find the cure for Greysdale.
She was intriguing.
It's like Quaithe. Quaithe, I think her name was, something like that.
It's pretty close to Karth.
I think I'm remembering her a little.
But okay, so my theory is that with all the talks of kids and all this thing, that then the major thing with Dany is like only death can pay for life. Everyone believes it in the Seven
We've
Kingdoms.
talked about this, yeah.
And that the dragon will die, and since the dragon's dead, then now she can have a kid again.
Okay.
Or I think Drogon is where they're gonna find out that it's a Drageen, and she's gonna give birth. The dragon is.
She's definitely giving birth to a dragon.
No, I'm not talking about Dany though.
Also,
She's gonna
something
grayscale the fuck out.
something interesting is that Targaryens have like the magic blood in them, and that's what
The children of the forest have.
correct. They descended from the children of the forest, and that's what Melisandre is so obsessed with. Is like when she keeps saying you have king's blood, because Baratheon's derived from the Targaryens, and then she was obsessed with Jon too. That's another reason why. That's another clue that he was a Targaryen.
Yeah,
the
are we
whole
going to
time.
see her again ever, or do you think she's
Next
not,
season?
you think-
Because she said that she has to die in Westeros, and I don't think there's going to be much of Westeros left after next season. So she better show up and die.
Okay.
Okay, so then we go back to the
Okay.
north of the wall where all the interesting stuff's happening, and they have this giant polar bear fight where there's a
Yeah.
they can CGI a polar bear but not Ghost in any of the scenes. So because Ghost hasn't been in this entire season,
And Ghost should be.
Yeah.
Ghost
Where
should
is
be with
Ghost?
them.
he's in Winterfell. Sansa had to throw away line saying like, "Does Jon just expect me to wait around like Ghost for him to get back?"
Okay.
She said something like that.
Yeah, the polar bear scene was okay. It was just a precursor to what.
Just to
was
show
about
that
happen.
Hound is still scared of fire somehow after he stared into it and all this stuff. I thought that was the turning point for him.
In the featurette, they were like, we wanted a white polar bear scene forever, and
That irks me though,
Yeah,
because
it's
they
like-
haven't shown direwolves in like they have one scene a
the
season.
direwolves
Are some of the coolest
could have
things.
been one of the coolest things. In the,
That's
they
that's
should
the
be
Stark
almost-
equivalent to the dragons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nope, never show up. Ghost is the only one left.
You never seen it.
Nymeria.
Yeah.
Oh, Nymeria is left too.
Yeah, but
that would be a
Nymeria
Deus
was
Ex
like-
Machina where she just shows up and saves Arya during the fight and then died to the Night King.
Yeah. Move on from the polar bear. It's making me mad.
But okay, one thing I want to talk about is: do we think the Hound is going to overcome this fear of fire, or do you think that's
Yeah.
going to be his downfall
No,
and that's how he
it's gonna be
dies?
in Clegane Bowl.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Clegane Bowl next episode.
And he's going to light his sword on fire
Yeah.
and kill.
There's gonna be something like that. I don't even know if the Mountain can think by himself anymore. I don't even like the concept of him.
The zombie?
Yeah, that's stupid. Anyway, we're gonna get Clegane Bowl. People wanted it. You know that. they're
I
gonna
don't think
throw
it's
that-
happening next episode.
I think
No,
you're
not
correct.
next episode.
Oh, I think it is.
Okay.
During the
yeah,
the
like
war
how do you
meeting?
think it would happen?
Yeah, never mind.
During
Yeah.
the treaty?
Wait,
you.
but maybe. I mean,
See,
we
I
only
don't-
saw like
people-
20 seconds
people-
from it. That could be at the beginning of the
That's just,
episode. You don't know.
I could see them just being like, okay, listen, we can't get anything done here with these two staring at each other.
Hey, yeah.
Let's just let them fuck each other up, and then we'll get
Okay,
back
the
to talking
thing
about
is,
this.
how do you? I mean, it's the finale. Before we go into the last season, do you think they're just going to end with a civil talk?
There's going to be more than just.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, the thing that's going to give is the wall, and it's going to come tumbling down.
But they're not going to.
My thing is that people are hyping up this meeting and they're saying that Cersei's going to have some power play where she's going to kill somebody or something. I don't think that's happening at
No,
all.
She would be dumb to do
immediately
that.
face retribution that would be.
I think it's just going to be a nice talk.
Oh.
Cersei's going to say, "Yeah, sure, I'll help you," and then she won't. Jaime will be like, "Man, I feel very guilty about this, and please God, let Jaime just leave Cersei and go help with the fight."
Speaking of Cersei, I think we find out maybe this episode or the beginning of next.
She's going to give
season
birth.
that she's not pregnant.
I think she's pregnant.
I don't
I
think,
think
she
she's
is.
pregnant.
I don't think she is.
Okay.
I don't think she
with
is.
a dragon.
But anyway, so they find
With a dragon, with a jaw.
with a lion.
A lion.
Next bullet.
So
A
the-
griffin. It's half dragon, half lion. I think.
So Jon's the dad because he's the only male Targaryen left.
Yeah.
Or Jaime's a Targaryen.
All right. We're.
So
I'm sorry.
they
if we
need
made it
to.
this far in this
They need
podcast.
to. So then they find this like lone White Walker with his group, and they decide to ambush him.
Yeah.
Jon kills him. He's killed 2 now.
Yeah. But
And-
they both have looked the same.
Also,
They
Jon
got
just like,
bald up until here, and then they got long hair.
and then Jon just completely destroys him. Like not even a fight. So the Night King better be the best fighter of all time to stand a chance, I guess.
When we get to that battle, I may actually cry for that one.
Well, Jon's dying in that battle, so.
you think Bran's gonna kill Jon?
Yeah, Bran the Night King's gonna they're gonna kill each other.
Well, how would you feel, Mike, honestly, if Bran was the Night King?
I would feel betrayed
By who?
Game of Thrones?
by the entire script writing process in general.
Is that thing Photoshop? Because I believe it.
I've seen that's Photoshopped. The only image that has been out there is that same image, and it looks like it's screenshotted off something.
Off of someone's phone.
You think that
And it was
someone would go back and take screen caps.
I was about to, but I decided I don't know.
This
what
is
to do.
tainted evidence. This is stuff from the internet. You're not
Yeah.
pulling it from the plot. You're not pulling it even from the books.
I'm pulling it from the plot.
Because it's canon? Because it's been aired in an episode?
No, because Bran has too much in common with this fellow. And once we get to the dragons, I'm gonna propose something. Once we get to this whole dragon situation.
Sisters, like in psyche and mentally connected somehow, sure. Is the Night King? No. Hard
I
no.
think they're connected. I think it's like I said it in last episode. I think it's something like the Force of Star Wars.
I think you kill Bran,
the Night King dies.
the Night King dies.
And who's the three-eyed raven then? Jon?
No one. You
Jon.
don't need one anymore. I think the end of the show, there's going to be no more magic in Westeros because all the dragons are going to be dead, and that's it. It's like the birth and death of magic.
Do you think Daenerys?
Magic caused this whole problem too.
Do you think Daenerys dies with Drogon?
I think Jon dies, Daenerys lives,
Yep.
with a
Cancel.
newborn baby
Cancel the show.
from Jon,
Name Ned.
named Eddard Targaryen.
Jeez. All right.
But anyway, so they capture White. They end up sending Gendry back. He starts running at least 50 miles an hour to get back.
I don't think they were that far from
Yeah,
the
I don't
wall.
think they were either.
No, time's weird in this season. Isn't
He
it?
ran all day, and then he got there.
Yeah, I think it was just.
I don't know
they
how,
were
but he
They
did.
were a day walk, and
But anyway, so that's when the horde just comes crashing in.
yeah. Then we have the frozen or the unfrozen pond once
Oh.
it breaks. But
How could I forget this? When Jon killed the White Walker, a bunch of the whites fell,
Yeah.
and that's going to be like the entire
That'll be
key
huge.
to the end
Yep.
of the show.
Night King
Now,
dies.
you just saw how they won the war
Yeah.
right there.
Or
Do you think we get some Beauty and the Beast stuff where the Night King turns back into a human?
no, I think I read something like a theory that someone had about how since Jon and Beric have been brought back from death, that like once the Night King dies, or some people think Bran's the Lord of Light, like once someone's gonna die and it's gonna cause them to drop dead too. Because the way George R. R. Martin described them is they're the fire whites against the ice whites, because they're brought back from the Lord of Light. The other whites are brought back from the ice. The others is what they're called in the book.
Pure poppycock.
So they run across the lake and they decide to surround them because they start falling in, the whites. And the Night King just holds on to the spears instead of chucking them at Jon on the island.
Can they not jump 3 feet?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Or they
it
could at
would
least
break.
file in, and then there has to be the shore to that little
Bridge,
thing.
One just lays down. He's like, walk over me.
I think you guys are overthinking it. The White Walkers had them right where they wanted them.
Yeah, everything-
They didn't know what dragon was. Maybe the Night King did, but the dead people, the Whites, didn't know that.
They do know. Because I feel like the whole dead body thing, they don't have minds of their own. They're being like warged into
Like
by the
controlled.
night.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
And that's why when people were like, what, the Night King's just going to send these dead people down to the bottom of the ocean to strap the chains on to Viserion? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what he would do, is sacrifice.
Wait, people actually had
Yeah.
a problem with that?
Yeah.
Those people needed to stop. All
But anyways, that's my whole theory, is that they knew about this entire thing and that they just used the whole situation to get a dragon. Like they have the same
Yeah.
power as Bran, where he can see bits and pieces of the future, the past, all this stuff. And they knew that a dragon was coming. That's why there's a shot of them, like when it's all the White Walkers, they have 3 spears and then 2 swords, one for each dragon.
And one for Jon and Daenerys.
Nope, that was the 2 swords.
That supposes so many things. It supposes that they sent that army or the small band of them out there to die as like a siren call. It supposes that they knew where they were going to run and that they had the foresight to know that the ice was going to break and that they wouldn't be able to get to them, because for sure they would have gotten to them if that ice didn't break. Then it supposes Okay, I don't know what supposes after that. Those two things are a lot.
Now, hear me out.
I think they
That's
take
if that was the Night King's plan, that's the worst plan.
Now,
he's
hear
ever
me
had.
out. So all of these other whites die when they kill the White Walker, but one survives somehow. That was my main problem. Is like, okay, one survives.
That was weird.
What if the Night King's, well, yeah, I guess technically since the brand is the Night King, but the Night King sends a scout with each of these things, so there's always one of the Night King so he can see what's going on.
Sure.
And then they're bringing the Night King's eyes pretty much to King's Landing, and he wanted this whole thing to happen, and he decided to get a dragon out of it where
It's not bad. I like that.
Wow.
where he could be
That's-
spying and seeing what's going on.
I do
See,
like that.
we do come up with these theories, like we've done it with the trailer breakdown stuff, where we come up with these theories that make so much sense and would be awesome for the show, and they at least 75% of them didn't happen.
We were
So-
pretty spot on with most of our trailer stuff because it's pretty. Once you put the pieces
We
together,
didn't,
I mean,
when Sansa was walking away, off the top of my head, I know that we said it was Peter, but it was Bran.
no, I didn't. Because you could see it in the background and it didn't look like Peter. I remember how we said it was someone else.
Anyway,
Okay, so my whole theory is that I think the Night King, because George R. R. Martin's whole thing about this book series is that he hates war and he wanted to show it in like a fantastical setting, like the struggles of war. Like everyone after this whole fight's over is going to have some major PTSD or some major problems with what they experienced. Think of all the main characters, all the bad things that happened to them throughout the entirety of the show. No one's going to be the same after it. And I think the Night King, his whole purpose is to unite all of the nations to fight. And that's why I think Bran has some connection, or he's not a pure evil, because that'd be so stupid if he's just pure evil. Because like none of the characters in the show have been really pure evil besides Joffrey and.
Then wouldn't he be feeling a void?
But even Joffrey, what?
Then wouldn't he be feeling a void if he was the only pure evil character on the show?
Yeah, but that's like kind of the whole thing about the show is that there's not.
But he's ethereal. He's not human. You're talking about human characters that have flaws, and some of them.
He
have
was
some of
human,
them
though.
bad.
I think Cersei's pure.
Night King
evil.
was human.
He was human.
He
We
was
saw him
human.
get created.
Okay, well he's not anymore, so you can be pure evil after you.
After you get mad
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're stuck in immortality.
I think Cersei's pure evil.
But at this point, kind of, because but you understand because all of her kids, all she had is her
loved her children.
kids.
She loved her children.
Exactly, and all of her kids are dead now.
think she
Same
was
thing with
before.
Joffrey is the way Joffrey was raised in this whole prince thing. That's the reason why he is. Same thing with Ramsay. He's been raised knowing that he's a bastard and that he's not good enough. But you have the same side of the coin with Jon and Ramsay, where you have someone that lent more towards like good, but then you also look at Roose Bolton, where his like Ramsay's only father figure is a completely jerk of a human too that would
Really?
stab people in the back, and then Ned's completely honorable. That's John's father figure. So you have like all these characters are.
Ramsay Bolton would probably be the closest to evil that you got
Yeah,
in the show so far.
But even then, you can understand.
I think.
like,
Yeah. I think Ramsay was more messed up. Joffrey was more evil.
I'd go the other way. I think Joffrey had it nurtured into him, whereas Ramsay.
because
was
like
more
Robert
control.
didn't care about him. Cersei kept telling him like he's the prince and he has basically power over everyone. And like so that gets to you as if you're told that your entire life as a kid, you don't have respect for anyone else.
Yeah, you become Justin Bieber.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just think that the Night King isn't pure evil and that there has to be something more.
Not like
And
Justin Bieber.
I don't know if we have time for them to give what's due to like know the motivation behind.
You
Yeah.
think they're gonna
They've
skip over
been-
the Night King and his
I
backstory?
hope not
They've
because they
been
need it.
stalling too much with the White Walkers and the Night King. We should have had more sprinkled in throughout all the other seasons.
Maybe we have and we just haven't noticed it yet, but the way people look into the show and overanalyze it, there has to be someone out there that would have found all these clues, but the symbols have something to do. It has to do with the children of the forest. Maybe they want to eradicate the children of the forest completely, which would mean killing off the Baratheons and the Targaryens.
I don't think you're wrong about Bran and the Night King are different sides of the same coin. I just don't think one is controlling the other in any capacity.
I feel like if one dies, the other's going to die. Because Bran knows it, and that's why maybe his old dagger thing, it's Valyrian steel, and he knows that can kill the Night. I don't know.
Is Littlefinger going to get killed with his own daggers?
Yeah,
Arya gonna
100%.
kill Littlefinger?
100%.
Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead though.
But so Gendry makes it to Eastwatch, sends a raven to Dany.
Yeah.
Davos finds him. I don't know. And then Sansa talks to Littlefinger. Hopefully Sansa's playing him because she just had this whole spiel about how no one can trust Littlefinger, and then she's talking to him one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then says that the only person that can help protect you is Brienne. She sends Brienne off to the King's Landing instantly.
Like I said.
So maybe she has some.
Like I said, get that Winterfell stuff away from me right now.
But anyway, so then Dany gets all dressed up and decides to bring the 3 dragons to help out Jon.
What if Littlefinger's play wasn't so much to separate the sisters, or it was, but more directly, it was to get Sansa back into his good graces? Because that kind of seems like the direction she's going right now is right back into his.
Yeah, because I feel like the whole thing is to make her feel alone, so that she has to. That's like isolate her, so that she has to have someone to talk to.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, that someone is.
Or divide and love.
Yeah, he's gone, which is I'm kind of upset about it because
he should have had a better way
fine.
out. He should have made a wrong play on a grand scale.
Yeah, because honestly, he hasn't really. I mean, it kind of makes sense that the one thing that's out of his control is legit someone that can see everything, but at the same time, it's kind of. Because I mean, he's playing the Starks pretty much. Legitimately, the only thing that stands in his way is that Bran knows everything that ever happened ever.
Yeah, is there a term for that? And is that a trope term or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a character that.
Because that's gotta
everything.
be. Because like honestly, if there was no Bran right now, Peter would end up being the king.
Yeah, but no, I don't know about
maybe
the
not
king.
that far, but like Winterfell is
controlling the king
until Jon gets back. But
well, he'd have Jon killed somehow by like saying that he's a Targaryen or something stupid. Anyways, so the Hound throws a rock and it hits the ice, and they know that they can walk across it.
That was stupid. Move on from that one.
And so, but that just leads into like the whole fight with everyone kind of. And then I saw people also complaining like, why is Jorah fighting with little daggers? It's dragon glass. It's dragon glass. They said that's something interesting too, because I thought that you could just kill whites with swords, but you need dragon glass or you need Valyrian steel or fire. Because that's something that I completely spaced out on, because I thought like in Hardhome, sure they were killing them, they were being brought back, but I guess using dragon glass kills them for good.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. But then you see Tormund has like that axe that has like dragon glass pushed through the wood part. I thought like all the dragon glass stuff is pretty cool how they're working it and stuff.
And some people aren't catching it.
Yeah. And then the Hound pulls off little axes that he uses. I don't know.
I think that was cool. Yeah. Whole battle.
I want to see full swords made out of it, but I doubt we'll get to
glass
that.
swords?
Yeah. I mean, Valyrian steel is like forged with dragon fire.
Dragon glass seems to be too brittle. Like when I'm seeing it, I would imagine that a huge dragon glass.
Because it's glass. Break. Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird substance.
They call it dragon glass, but then they say it's just obsidian.
It's obsidian.
Yeah.
So that's not fragile.
But it's
fragile.
It's obsidian made with dragon fire instead of like lava. But who knows?
I mean, I've never held glass made by a dragon, but from the shape of it, it's definitely been chipped away and formed into a blade. So it's not as hard as like, a rock or steel or something like that.
For sure. And then Dany comes in, swoops in, pretty cool sequence of her just.
That was awesome.
Could have just burned the Night King, but I guess she didn't know that he.
Yeah,
which existed.
Honestly, it makes sense. She didn't know what was going on. She just came to save the day. She saw all this whole army surrounding the people that she's with. I mean, what else would you do?
Awesome music, by the way, in that sequence. Yeah. One thing that bothered me that leads into this next thing is that we didn't. In the first episode, Bran has this vision of the White Walkers marching on Eastwatch or whatever, and you see that there's giants.
And there's no giants.
There's no giants in this whole thing.
But that would then speak to your theory that it was
maybe they didn't need
the dragons.
Yeah, and they just didn't need the giants.
But then, like you were saying, also you guys were saying before, why not just bring a giant with his big bow and throw one of those?
Exactly. I feel like that would make more sense than the Night King just chucking a javelin without moving his hips or moving anything.
Hey, giant, give me a dragon. And then
you could just
giant's riding the dragon. Are you kidding me?
I don't know if that would
Are you kidding me?
I feel like the Night King's gonna ride the dragon. But honestly, that's what I was thinking. Like when I saw the giants, because I knew that a dragon had to die and become like a white dragon.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of assumed that.
But when I saw the giants, I'm like, that's how they're gonna do it. Is they have those giant, and then they show like the crossbow thing that like did damage to a dragon, and they use pretty much the same arrows that we saw the giants use in the wall.
Why not? Like literally,
I guess they wanted
the Night King.
They wanted to show the Night King has this insane strength or whatever, but also he's aiming right at Drogon that has everyone that's ever caused him problems,
and he misses.
And then he goes to Viserion and kills Viserion, which I didn't know which dragon it was, if it was Rhaegal or Viserion when it crashed.
Maybe there's a reason.
They released it and said Viserion.
I haven't paid attention to the dragons one bit. One is the same as the next.
Because
Green's Viserion,
Jon has
Black's Drogon, Red's Rhaegar. Rhaegal or whatever.
Rhaegal is green, and that's what John's gonna end up
So I was
riding.
right on that one.
It's pronounced Raga.
It's like it's like green. It's weird. It's something with green scales
That's
or
fine.
something.
Okay.
Drogon's black with red. Viserion's cream with gold. or
Do they have
something.
personalities? Does it-
Yeah, I guess in the books, Viserion was the one that wouldn't go out hunting, and he would always stay with Dany, and she'd like pet him and stuff.
Okay.
So it's kind of I like in this moment in the books, it'll probably be a lot. Like for me, like oh my god, basically all my emotion from it was they're screwed. Like the people fighting against this dragon screwed. I didn't really care which dragon it was. Like if it was
Yeah.
Drogon, it'd probably have more because that's the only one that they focused on in the entire show. But like the other two, it's kind of like one I know is named after John's dad, so I figured John's gonna ride him. That's the only other connection that I have to the dragons.
Do you think we ever get like a magic carpet ride with Dany and Jon when they're just riding on a
I could see
dragon?
it. I could see that actually happening. Yeah.
And the like a nice
How much
little-
CG is there going to be when Dany's riding Drogon, John's riding Rhaegal, and they're fighting the Night King in the air while there's a battle going on? Finale of the show?
I just really hope that
Wouldn't
it
be
doesn't
bad.
look bad. I really hope. 'Cause
It doesn't. None of the dragon stuff looked bad this season at all, I feel. Some of the stuff in the earlier episodes, like,
But
were
that's
sketchy.
a lot of dragons, and the Night King got to CG him up a little bit, his eyes.
It's
and
kind of
stuff.
insane how much is practical, though, for the Night King. They just CG up, they blew him up a little bit.
Yeah,
Can't
because
believe
he's
it.
pretty much. If you watch the feature and stuff, he's pretty much just like it's
White.
white
Prosthetics.
prosthetics over his body, and then they just add everything in post. But
Yeah, but Viserion dies. Kind of, people were wondering, like, why was he bleeding so much and stuff? Because my thoughts is that he was breathing
fire.
He was breathing fire, and it
getting right
hit,
in the neck.
and it blew out on the side. Like the fire started blowing out of his neck, and you kind of see that, and then it just kind of blew outside of his
I didn't
body.
have a problem with that. Plus, it was pretty sweet. Just
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, sad. It was sad.
Jettisoning blood.
Yeah,
A lot of blood.
a lot of blood.
But Viserion's died. I figured something like that would happen. This is what I got spoiled for me: is Viserion pretty much dying and being raised as a White Walker, dragon or whatever. Also, some differentiating things with that is like he raised the dead without touching them, and the only other thing he touched was a baby.
Because he has the same blood as this creature.
But it's possible. But the baby was alive and Viserion was dead. So I don't know if it's just he had to touch it because it was a big thing or whatever.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all.
But John, people were also wondering about why didn't John just get on the dragon? He saw people come in and he just decided to fight them off so that they could because that's
That's Jon-
complete.
yeah, that's
It's
the
completely
hero.
to his
That's Jon
character.
Snow.
Yeah, it's the hero.
And then he starts saying like,
I thought,
"Leave, go, go," and then he gets tackled into the ice.
I'm not
and-
gonna lie. I was about 50-50. I thought John may have died. I thought he was gonna die. But then I
John's
was like,
lasting to the end of the show. Like they, especially with this
again,
whole
That's the
Rhaegar thing
you,
going
you
on.
You can't even consider that anymore because that's not what the show is anymore.
But then again, I thought this was the reason Beric was brought back. He survived, so. I really thought that this.
I would have been
thought a lot
fine.
of people
I
were
would have
gonna
been
die
fine if
since-
everyone died except Jon and Jorah, or even if Jorah died and like
it was like last one standing, and like we had a sweet standoff with Night King and Jon, like hard home. Love that. I love that episode.
yeah, Hard Home was better than this. I feel. But.
Yeah, I really love this episode, but Hard Home's better.
And to the thing with like how we just expect Jon to survive now. The crazy thing that Game of Thrones used to do, and guys, I still love the show. I'm gonna be extremely sad when it's over. But like back like in earlier episodes when you saw people fighting, they wouldn't be put in these extreme circumstances where you're like they're dead. Like the only reason why they would die is because they make a mistake somewhere or they're put into an extreme like with Tormund being dragged like that, he's dead. Because you see someone get ripped apart instantly when there's a pile of whites on him,
Yeah.
but then it cuts to Tormund and he just survives.
It's doing the same thing that Walking Dead is starting to do, where it takes your favorite characters because they know your favorite characters and they end an episode or a scene on them just being in a situation that's impossible to survive from.
And then they survive.
And then they survive.
They haven't ended an episode like that though.
I know, but like
besides Jamie.
with Jon being tackled into the water and left alone or whatever, like he should have been dead. It's, like the only explanation is the same way Danny's immune to fire, he's immune to cold, but like because you would be freezing to death. It's like those furs
That's a
would
good
bring you.
explanation.
I
though.
think that's-
That's-
I
The
think it
furs
could
would
be
bring
that.
you down to the freaking bottom of the lake.
He never had a problem up on top of the wall during the Night's Watch.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I think I think that's not as bad.
I mean, I'm like, John's my favorite character, and I want him to survive to the end, but like even with Jamie, like the whole dragon situation and him being
That
like
was
he
stupid.
shouldn't have.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
put
fine.
characters in extreme situations where nothing's gonna come out of it.
Has John ever come across fire? I don't remember him.
Yeah, he grabbed the lantern and threw it at the white, and his hand burned.
Okay.
So, and the way they explain it is that that Dany's the only one that's like immune to fire somehow. Also, Aemon Targaryen, who's a Targaryen, was burned. His body was burned when he died. Nothing happened to him. Someone made a funny comic though, where it was like they burn him, and then like all that's left is his naked body, like when the fire.
Then that kind of removes the whole prince or princess theory, then, doesn't it? It becomes princess because she's the only one that's unburnt.
I'm gonna get to that
He's gonna
theory,
get to it.
and I read this and I
Hit it right now, yeah.
yeah, I mean, because this is pretty much at the end of the episode. The only other thing that happens is Benjen saves John and dies.
Yeah, but
just
now
comes
it's just
back.
a good old ex machina.
How do we feel about John bending the knee to Dany? I thought it was.
I thought it was a long time
Inevitable.
coming.
Yeah,
Yep.
especially
And
after Tormund
after
said
Tormund says,
Mance Rayder gave up so much just because he didn't want to bend the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that I was going to touch on with Arya is that we see Bran gets gifted the dagger from Littlefinger, and then he hands it off to Arya, saying that he doesn't care about the gift, like from Littlefinger, and then Arya hands it off to Sansa, kind of saying like, now it's your turn to drop Littlefinger. That's my whole reading into the situation. I think
Yep.
they're playing Littlefinger
yeah.
and they're going to kill him, but.
Right.
Um,
Arya's like, kill this dude.
And then Night King raises Viserion. We already touched on that. But okay, so everyone's talking about Jon or Dany being the Azor Ahai, the prince that's promised or whatever, or that it could be both of them at the same time, or it could be their child. What I think is that George R.R. Martin always talked about creating a story in which the hero died before the story began. And I think that Rhaegar Targaryen was obsessed with prophecy. And I read this theory, whoever came up with it, brilliant looking into the details of it. But Rhaegar Targaryen was so obsessed with prophecy, and he believed that his son would be Azor Ahai or whatever, and that person would wield Lightbringer, and that person would stop the White Walkers and all this stuff. I think that Rhaegar Targaryen was Azor Ahai. And they talk about how it took him 3 times to try to forge Lightbringer. Rhaegar Targaryen had 3 children, and on the 3rd try, it was Jon. So I think Jon Snow is Lightbringer. Lyanna Stark is Nissa Nissa or whatever it is. Rhaegar Targaryen's Azor Ahai, and like Jon is the weapon that's going to stop the White Walkers. But my theory is that because Azor Ahai, in like the story that was told, he didn't stop the White Walkers. He just
Set it in
pushed
motion.
them back and like stopped them from coming back for 1,000 years. I think that Jon's going to actually stop them, but at the cost of his own life. And people keep saying like that
Like a
won't be,
tool.
yeah, and it will be like that won't be bittersweet. That will be tragic. If you look at Game of Thrones, Jon Snow's whole story has led up to this moment where I think he's going to stop. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about.
He's been trying to die for the right
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
the whole
He literally
whole
said
show.
that he didn't get to choose if he came back.
Yeah, and the thing is like his whole life he hasn't cared about really like ruling or like he just wants to make sure that people are safe. That's the whole reason why I joined the Night's Watch, everything. And if he has to die to make sure, he's 100% okay with that. Plus he died already, so he doesn't see much point in living.
I think that's 100% correct, that whole theory. And I think that this finale, we get a 20-minute clip involving Rhaegar and Lyanna. I think we get a 20-minute little story with them that gives
I don't
us
know
a
about
lot
that
more
long, but I
details.
feel like we will.
I think that they tacked on 20 more minutes to the episode. I don't care if I'm wrong.
But
I think that's what it is.
But it's kind of interesting if you look back at Game of Thrones. And sure, Jon's a hero still, but like the main hero of the story is dead before the story even starts.
yeah, everyone says he was like literally the perfect human being, right?
And he's the cause of everything that happens in the show too, technically, because, well, I mean, Robert is kind of, because he starts a war without knowing the full story, but yeah,
Robert was just mad that Lyanna didn't want him.
pretty much. It was just,
Some
and
high
then
school drama that
I
takes a turn.
I saw another interesting thing where Robert said something like he can't even remember what Lyanna looked like, and then Aemon Targaryen is telling Sam about a girl that he loved, and he said, I can describe to you every single thing about her. So it's kind of like Robert
Maybe
had some
Robert.
infatuation with her and like didn't really, because it was just like, he was just proposed to get married. They didn't really have many conversations or anything.
Yeah.
People just hyped up Lyanna like she was the perfect person. People hyped up Rhaegar like he's the perfect person. Bring them together, make Lightbringer. Oh yeah, and the whole thing with like Nissa having to be sacrificed for Lightbringer to be born is that she dies in childbirth, giving birth to Jon. Sure, why not?
I like
Everything
it.
links up,
It all
everything.
links up. Yep.
But yeah, I think
It's
that's
not the most satisfying ending to me, but it's.
I think that's satisfying.
I think-
John's Lightbringer. Come on.
I think Jon, Dany gets pregnant. Jon's like, crap, I got my aunt pregnant. And it's like typical luck. He's not all for it anymore, but he still has honor, kind of like how Rob did after he had sex with, I forgot what her name was, but he
Dead.
married.
Dead.
Yeah, he married her because it was like, that's the honorable thing to do once you take someone's flower or whatever. But I feel like Jon's going to do the same thing with Dany, marry her, which would make their son legitimate. Jon dies, then everything's set in motion where it's like everything's safe. They're rebuilding Westeros. They have succession lined up with Dany's child.
This episode, do you think we find out that Jon Snow isn't Jon Snow?
Yeah, they have to reveal his real name eventually.
They should. It's going to be such a huge storyline through the next season that you really do have to at least put the seed there.
And I feel like people keep
Overtly.
People keep talking about Jon's whole, like his real name, like his Targaryen lineage. I don't think Jon Snow is going to care at all. He's going to go by Jon Snow to the day he dies. He doesn't care what his real name is. Ned Stark's his father.
I think we see his name in like not in the exact same context, but like a Sam Gilly type scene with a book or something.
I feel like it will go back to
so
the Tower of Joy.
He won't even know.
There's also been this thing that Jon will never find out that he's a Targaryen because Bran figures that it would cause too much trouble when they're trying
If he gets with Dany, he deserves not to find out.
At the same point, like I kind of wish that Jon Snow was just a bastard, and that like his whole life
Underdog.
But it's still kind of cool that he's grown up his entire life and accomplished so much, thinking that he was, and then it turns out that he is the rightful.
That's
Go ahead
Gendry's
and drop.
That's Gendry's role. He's just the bastard.
That will probably become like the Lord of Storm's End or whatever the Baratheons were.
What did you say about Joffrey and Jon?
Oh, it was Joffrey's the bastard raised as a prince, and then Jon's the prince raised as a bastard. Yeah. Pretty interesting parallel.
Yeah.
And then Joffrey's awful. Jon's probably the purest person on the show, where he doesn't have a lot of evil in him.
He's
like Dany,
for sure the most
Dany
hero.
has some moments where she's evil. Tyrion has some moments where he's evil.
Jon, he can't do wrong for me. Jon could.
He's
Jon,
like they said, they described him perfectly, where he makes stupid mistakes, but he makes them like with pure intentions of like. Where Dany can make stupid mistakes with
what?
like.
Jon can
burning
go
people or
through
whatever.
and massacre every important character on the show. You know,
And then
I
at the
don't
end he
care.
said it had to be done for the Night King to die.
And you know what? I don't care.
John's even
Jon
more
can
pure
do it.
than Ned. I mean, Jon.
Yeah, honestly. Because Ned was stupid. When we look back at Ned, he was kind of, why would you tell Littlefinger about this whole thing? Why would you tell Cersei to her face that you know that Joffrey is...
And second off, Ned should have freaking told Catelyn about Jon.
Catelyn's a bad mother.
No.
Why wouldn't Ned
Oh, wait, yeah. Let's just jump into that. Why do you think, real quick, this is how we're going to end it.
Catelyn.
Why do you think Catelyn is worse than Cersei?
I don't think she is.
Worse than Cersei. I may have been
Worse luck.
overstating a little bit.
Cersei is just sheltered. Catelyn was there. All the Starks were out there. You know what I mean? Like it was like a slight war with the Robb thing. Like that was war.
Robb was winning too, but he made a stupid mistake.
Yeah, that's on Robb. That's not on Catelyn. And Catelyn tried to bargain. She was the first one who noticed. She tried to get things out of there, and yeah.
Catelyn hated Jon Snow.
Yeah,
I
but then
mean,
she
resented
explains it.
it.
And she said he got very sick, and then I was like, "What am I doing?" She prayed to the new gods and the old, and he's fine now. She said it straight up. But Ned's a dumbass. Should have told her, Sean Bean, get out of the show.
The interesting thing
I'm
is that
kidding,
Sean
no.
Bean knew the entire time. Like, whatever his character knew, he knew. So he knew that he wasn't his father or whatever. But, like, you got to think of it from her perspective. Your husband comes back, supposed the most honorable man in Westeros, comes back from war with a child that's not yours, and then you're newly married. You just gave birth to his child. Like,
Robb.
yeah. And then you're just like, What just happened?
Well, as far as the show and the setting of it, I mean, par for the course.
Yeah, but also
Ned should have just gave her like a Ned nod or something, and she should have just known.
the main thing with me is like I can understand where Catelyn wouldn't have treated Jon as much as her other sons, but at the same time, you see Jon grow up and you see him become a good guy. So at some point, Catelyn can go like,
Yeah,
okay, this
yeah.
guy's a good guy.
Get
I can
on
treat him
board.
with some respect
Get on
he's
board. If you resent the most pure character in the Seven Kingdoms, then you have some issues.
yeah.
I
They
would
need
have
to be
loved.
resolved.
I'm not gonna lie though. I would have loved to see Lady Stoneheart in the show.
Cause wait, honestly, like, the only person that hates Jon Snow is Alistair Thorne, and he doesn't even hate him. He still has respect for him. He just didn't think he was doing the right thing when it came to the wildlings.
It was like political parties.
Even like someone brought up a good point where it's like, next episode we have Cersei and like basically every major character meeting, and it's like
every Night King
Where's
comes
that
in,
meeting
kills
at?
them all.
It's in the Dragon Pit in King's Landing, where like they stored a bunch of like the dragons when they were alive.
Okay.
I think,
But
I think that the Night King's gonna come in when they're all in there and roll credits. They're like, just kidding. Season 8 was never happening.
Yeah, it hasn't
This
even
is
gotten
the
to the
end.
wall in 6 seasons, and then
No,
all of a
he's-
sudden he's.
Put it into overdrive, baby.
But,
Gotta get the King's
Well, he does have a
Landing.
dragon now, so.
yeah, and those things can travel with jet engines on them because
Right.
they just got up to
Right,
North
right,
Wall.
right, right.
But they said like everybody in King's Landing now in the next episode has hurt the other people's families. Everyone has problems with each other. But then you look at Jon. Jon hasn't done anything to any other character in the show. He's been so focused on the Night King thing. Like, what has he done to Cersei? Nothing. What has
Except
Cersei
being
done?
known as Ned Stark's son.
Yeah,
But
and what
he's not even
what
that.
has Cersei done to Jon? Kill his entire family. What is? I mean, Tyrion and Jaime and them, like he killed the father. He did all this stuff. Dany to them. All that like stuff lines up. Jon didn't do anything to anyone else. He's just trying to
He
win the
betrayed
war.
wildlings. That one kind of.
But that doesn't even matter anymore.
It doesn't matter.
He's
Yeah.
literally the.
That
he's-
doesn't matter to Cersei at all. Like Cersei doesn't even care about the North. All she cares about is like, I need to be the
she's
most
just-
powerful woman.
And
in
the
this.
thing is with that too is Cersei's just kind of like, please just bend the knee. I don't want to deal with the North. I just want to know that I have control of it.
Yeah, exactly. I need to have this control.
I don't
thing.
like. I don't care about you. Just please, just say that I can control you, kind of thing. Please.
Exactly.
But
But what I guess we'll see next episode. Next episode should be fun. I feel
Are
like
we-
it's going to be calmer than.
we doing a reaction
You think
video.
it's gonna
for
be
that?
calmer?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a calm finale. I don't think there's going to be too much stuff.
I think you're wrong.
I think Littlefinger is going to die, and that's
Wall
it.
comes down.
Oh yeah.
That would be great. Okay, wall comes down.
Peter Baelish dies.
Peter Baelish dies. Clegane Bowl.
Clegane Bowl.
And I'm
Beg-
happy.
and then beginning of the episode towards middle, oh yeah, we're gonna get the big meeting with everyone, and then we're also gonna find out. We're also gonna get a flashback.
also-
mate Rhaegar for the first time on TV,
Yeah, yeah. Set up the.
and we're gonna
backstory.
see that. So I think there's 5 components there. We completely set them out of order and didn't really count well, so you can go back and watch again. But if you made it
It'll
this
be,
far,
like,
thank you.
I like the slower Game of Thrones episodes, but I think this is going to be like.
I like slow burn Game of Thrones.
But I feel like it's not going to have big moments.
When
Like-
it's not just travel
season-
shit happening.
season
yeah.
6
When it's
finale?
just slow travel.
Yeah, that's why I'm
fuck
okay with
that.
all this fast travel stuff.
Season
Like
6 finale. Perfect. I love that beginning of that. That's a
probably my
slow
favorite
burn,
episode of
yeah.
Game of Thrones ever.
It's
but
one of them. Yeah.
I feel like this is going to kind of be, I don't know, that season finale had the most things ever happening in a Game of Thrones episode. Like
Quick
See,
recap.
and they were relentless then.
Cersei became
blows up the
queen
high
and blew up the
sept-
Septa Baelor.
okay, Septa
Tommen
Baelor.
dies, which means the throne is open.
That one was good.
Cersei becomes queen. Do we get Jon being declared the king of the North?
And we figure
dies.
out that he's
And we figure out that he is a Targaryen, confirmed.
Arya comes
Everything.
back and kills Walder Frey.
True.
Danny starts heading off to Westeros for the first time.
But that's
Not
the
plot wise, but just visually, I would take season 5 finale over that
what
one.
happens season 5.
It's the arrow episode. All bows and arrows at the wall.
No, that's season 4,
I'm
episode
sorry,
9.
season
yeah.
4. Thank you.
Yeah, that I love that episode too. Like all the battle episodes are usually fantastic.
But
Where it's like
season
one
6?
location,
Yeah,
the whole.
honestly, Egret's death was one of my favorite deaths. When that little
When it's
fucker
like
puts his arrow
when
in
it's like
her.
all slow motion in the background and you see
Yeah.
John with like
Yeah.
They do battle scenes right. Mm-hmm. They do.
like spoilers of war. That's their battle episode. But I don't know. Hopefully season 8 everything's a battle episode. We get Miguel Sapochnik back to direct all the episodes.
Yeah, is he back?
I don't know. They haven't confirmed anything.
I hope so.
I want the guy that directed Watchers on the Wall, which is the Arrow episode. I want the guy that directed Spoils of War.
Hard Home.
And I want Hard Home, which is Miguel
Yeah.
Sapochnik. Those three back, do 2 episodes each.
I like it.
Because Miguel Sapochnik or whatever, he did Battle of Bastards and season 6 finale, right?
And he did Hard Home.
Light of the Sevens, the old season 6 finale, correct?
So you nail
Yeah.
those 5 things, you get those guys back for 7th.
Yeah.
And
If
we got
Miguel,
ourselves a show, guys.
Miguel doesn't direct the finale of
The
the
finale
show.
of season 6 isn't called Light of the Seven.
What is it called?
Winds of Winter.
Winds of Winter.
But it did have Light of the Seven in it.
The song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope Miguel directs the final episode of the show.
Winds of Winter makes me think it's going to end on the wall. The wall's going to be the last thing, the last shot.
This episode is called, what is this episode called? Oh,
finale.
the Dragon and the Wolf. This
So
episode.
it's the
The season
narrative.
6 finale
so, yeah,
was
so
Winds
it's
of Winter.
Danny and
So
John.
it's the
Which is when winter
Danny and
first
John,
comes to
Lyanna and
Westeros.
Rhaegar. That's what those.
Ghost and Drogon.
The
John by himself.
Fire and Ice.
Donkey and the dragon from Shrek.
Tango and Cash.
Miguel Sapochnik, Game of Thrones.
James Cameron, Wonder Woman.
Simon and Garfunkel.
James
Alright.
Cameron, Avatar 2 through 5.
Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. We will have a reaction video for the finale. Hopefully that'll go up that night. We'll see. Nate's got to get on his horse and chug away. But we'll go ahead and see. Thank you for watching.
Until next time, adios.